Welcome back, my fellow friends, to another brilliant video by yours truly. In this video, I want to talk about how freedom is on the other side of a reality that you have not yet designed. This video is going to talk about the idea of freedom. And basically, I'm going to break down this word, freedom, and break down the misconceptions that most of us have about freedom and what it means to have freedom, or success, or love. You can use these words kind of interchangeably, but it's the same concept that I'm trying to spell out. So, majority of people spend their entire life delaying freedom in order to chase after it. The same way that they spend their time and energy chasing love to feel worthy. What do I mean by this? We get so caught up in the pursuit of freedom that we become slaves. We become slaves to the pursuit of freedom. We spend our whole life delaying our own freedom just to pursue freedom. We spend our whole life delaying freedom by working till we're 65 in the hopes that when we retire, we will be free, we'll have enough money saved up, then we can finally go do what we actually want to do. But the big blind spot that a lot of people don't see is the fact that you literally chained yourself to a jail cell for 2/3 of your life in the pursuit of freedom. And I think the root of this belief that I have to sacrifice in order to be free is based on the truism that discipline is freedom, that work hard, enjoy later, that delayed gratification leads to better outcomes in life. I'm not arguing with those because they're true. The actions that you take will define what outcomes you get out of life, right? But I think we mistake this idea of suffering leads to freedom. Suffering leads to success, right? Or you can use the word pain. We think we have to suffer our way to pain. We have to suffer our way to success. Basically, this video is going to be me dispelling that myth in why pain and freedom don't have to be in the same sentence. Pain and success don't have to be in the same sentence. I found the truism that I was looking for. No pain, no gain. Right? No pain, right? No pain, no gain. And I understand that. But I'm asking for us to transform our relationship to pain itself. Because I'll just use this as an example, right? This morning, I plan to do a 5K run. In the middle of my 5K run, I reached the halfway point of 2.5 kilometers. And I was just like, you know what? This feels a little short today. Let's just keep running. Long story short, a 5K run that I had initially planned turned into a 15K run. Did I do that through discipline? No. There was no pain involved in this equation. I didn't have to push myself harder or discipline myself harder in order to run 3 times the distance that I had originally planned. What I'm proposing here is a state of mind that does not associate pain with gain. Hopefully you'll start to see what I'm saying by the end of this video, or that you're starting to already see what I'm trying to say. Who taught you that you need to associate pain with gain? It's like Pavlov's dog. If you condition a dog to associate an environmental stimulus with a certain behavior, then it will just associate that. But it becomes an unconscious association. So what's important here is that we become conscious of our unconscious associations, and we rewire ourselves so that the supposedly painful things, the hard things to do, like eating healthy, like working out, training consistently, like taking actions every day to build the business and the life that you want to lead. These are so-called painful actions, but they're only painful to the person who's living misaligned to that energy. They're only painful to the person to which these actions, thoughts, beliefs, behaviors still feel unnatural to. It's an identity issue. If you're identified with the person who struggles to stay consistent, who struggles to stay motivated, who struggles to stay inspired, who struggles to lose weight, who struggles to hit the gym consistently, who struggles to take the daily actions into building the business that they want to create. It's not that you're unwilling to suffer and avoid pain. It's that you still see it as painful. Do you see the difference that I'm saying here? To somebody who doesn't view these actions as painful, they can do it effortlessly. They can do it without needing to think, without needing to plan, without needing to discipline themselves to do it. So, let's move on. We harped a little off, but that's the fun of it. So I used to think success was maxing out all of the big adult achievements. Now I realize that trying to find worldly success as an adult is like being a child, desperately looking for what they never got as a child. Except you project your child needs onto adult things and adult achievements. But ultimately, you're still looking for the same toy, metaphorically speaking. You're looking for the next achievement. You're looking for the next loop. One of my fond memories as a child was when I would get a toy that I would be daydreaming about for days and weeks. And when you daydream as a child, when you're a child, days and weeks feel like months and years, right? But I finally got that toy. You know, maybe it was a Lego set, it was a Hot Wheels set, it was something. And I'd just be so over the top happy, excited. And then 2-3 days later, that excitement completely gone, faded away. And then I would start daydreaming about the next toy, the bigger Lego set, the cooler Lego set. Okay? Do you see how as adults we are stuck on this same loop our entire life of the unmet needs of the child? It's the same pattern, except most of us never realize it, and then we spend our whole life driven by this loop. You know, you can call it the hamster wheel, you can call it the hedonic treadmill. Okay? Now I realize, however, that success is living the life that I denied my childlike self in an attempt to behave like an adult. My childlike self had dreams. My childlike self pretty much, just wanted to be free. You know, think about it. When you're a child, you're walking around in the park. You're not worried about like, oh my gosh, you know, am I going to become an astronaut? It's like you are the astronaut. You know what I mean? You are literally role-playing as the astronaut. right? What is play? That is what the child has that we've lost as adults. Visualization, creativity, playfulness, role-playing. When you're a child, you're wandering, stumbling through the playground or the woods. You know, the little thing, everything catches your attention. Oh my, maybe you notice a bug, and this bug is like, you know, flying in a weird way, and then you're just like, ha 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 ha. Like, you know, you're deeply present as a child. You notice the flowers, you notice the surroundings. You don't ask any more of this moment because you're so absorbed in it. And, you know, if you have a child, children can be your greatest teacher because they teach you how to stop being an adult, stressed out about life and worrying about everything. And they teach you to come back to the present moment and to be fully in tune with what is here. So, I'll keep reading. I don't think living your dreams is about achieving big accomplishments, although this is the cherry on top. When you live a life truly aligned to your childlike self, to your natural curiosities, to your passions, to your purpose, when you live in a state of life where you love what you do, you love who you are, you love waking up every single day because you get to dive into the things that matter. When you live in that way, the motivation comes effortlessly, the so-called discipline comes effortlessly. It comes effortlessly because you don't even need to exert it, because you're just living in alignment with who you want to be and who you are. Right? The inspiration, the motivation, the purpose, the fulfillment, the joy, peace, love. Okay, when you are living inside of these qualities on the day-to-day, I would argue you're already free. Just as the child does not look outside to the future for freedom, the child knows in a naive way that freedom is play. Freedom is being able to play in this moment. And that is what we forget when we become adults. I think it's about living the life your childlike self would have wanted that the adult version of you abandoned. The freedom your child self wants is spontaneous. The freedom your adult self wants is delayed into the future, right? Oh, when the bills are paid, oh, when the tax is filed, when the things are good enough, when I finally make this amount of money, when I finally get married, when I finally have children, when the children finally grow up, oh my God, it's fucking endless. As adults, we become absolutely addicted to delaying freedom, delaying success, delaying fulfillment, delaying peace, delaying joy, delaying love. Freedom is honoring and living both simultaneously. Both the freedom that your child self wants and the freedom your adult self wants. And as I said, you know, in the very beginning of the video, you know, the safe life path is the epitome of delaying freedom. Because you forget the whole meaning of life. You think you're working towards this magical future only to become 65, 3 chronic diseases, obese, high blood pressure, depressed, anxious, or whatever the hell, right? Your body is in shambles. You have no more youthful energy. And then you realize you were sold a lie. I think the earlier you can wake up to this fact that you only have one life and that you should start living now and stop waiting to delay, the earlier of an age you realize that, the better off for your sanity and your happiness it will be. And honestly, not everyone is meant to discover this. Some people are meant to just work until 65, and that's fine. You know, it's I don't want to make it into a moral judgment. Everyone has their own life path, and you know, you can't tell somebody to be something they don't want to be, right? But let's tie this all back together. Freedom is on the other side of a reality you haven't yet designed. If you spend all of your time delaying freedom, you will never find it. If you spend all of your energy trying to earn the validation of someone in order to feel worthy of love, you will never find love, because that is not what love is. What I am saying is, if you consider yourself to be an ambitious person, right? And the ambitious person is the person who plans ahead, who thinks about the future, who wants the future to be better than the present, right? This is the freedom that your adult self wants. And you combine that ambition, you combine that ambition with the freedom that your child self wants, which is finding the freedom and the joy in this present moment, in today, you will become a superpower. Your motivation, your purpose, your mission, your alignment to your path, you start to radiate this aura that I cannot put into words. Okay? Think of your childlike self as your heart. Okay? And then think of your adult self as your mind. In my previous video, I talked about, or I don't know the upload sequence, but I'll refer the video probably in the description so you can refer to it. In that video, I talked about the heart-mind. The Chinese called it Xing. The heart is not separate from the mind, but in the Western world, we're so disconnected from our hearts. In other words, we're so disconnected from our childlike self, the part of us that has wonder, that has curiosity, that has passion, that has playfulness. We're so over-identified with the mind, the so-called adult self, the rational self, the calculating self, the cold self, the planning self, the overthinking self, the worrying self. We're so over-identified here that we lose joy for life. But I'm telling you, if you reintegrate the joy for life, which is inside of your childlike self, with the ambition that the rational adult self in you wants, nothing can stop you. I'm telling you, nothing can stop you. Holy fucking shit. I just had a deja vu right now, as if I already made this video in the past, which I know I didn't, unless I did. See, these like alignments in the timeline, the synchronicities and shit like starts to happen when you live from this state, and it just feels like bliss and blessing, and you can't describe it. Right? If you're looking to stop living a fake life on paper that, looks good on the surface, but inside leaves you feeling empty, drained, depressed, and unfulfilled, and actually create a life that feels like yours, And honestly, this is a side tangent, but a huge part of that is the battle with lust. I know I haven't talked about that topic in a long time, but if you can master your sexual energy, I promise you. So if you want help with that, link in the description. Other than that, thank you so much for joining me on this beautiful afternoon, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.